Okay, good morning, students. Today in the last lecture, we see different types of tasting, right? So, today we learned about the standard penetration test, which is known as SPT, which is the most important subject, right? Okay, so SPT is basically meaning of SPT is a standard penetration test which will be given in the page number 49, right, in your book. Okay, so talking about this SPT, so SPT is the most commonly used in situ test, which means in the site test, right, which is mostly used whenever we are going to test, right, we are doing it on the site, right, especially for cohesionless soils which cannot be easily sampled, right. So basically this test is used to determine three criteria, which is first one is a relative density of soil, angle of shearing resistance of cohesionless soil, which is denoted as a phi, and unconfined compressive strength of cohesive soil, which is denoted as QU, right. So starting with the test, so this test is conducted in a borehole using a standard split spoon sampler, right. So this is your standard sampler, right. So when the borehole has been drilled to the desired depth, right, so the drilling tools are removed and the sample is lowered to the bottom of the hole. So the sample is given into the soil by a drop hammer of this 65 kg, right. Here hammer is given with the helping of this hammer, which is dropped out, right, which is dropped out in this sampler, right. So with the help of this, the sampler is lowered to the bottom of the hole and driven into the soil by a drop hammer with a free fall of 750 mm, right. Here, as you can see, that 750 fall, this is anvil, right. So the this procedure is standardized and set out as according to the IS code, which is standard penetration test, right. So the required number of blows is 150 penetration, and each of this blow is counted, right. So the sampler is further driven by 150 and the number of blows are also recorded. Likewise, the sampler is one again further driven by 150 and the number of blows are counted, so that the number of blows recorded for the first 150 penetration, right, then the number of blows recorded for the last two 150 intervals added to give the standard penetration number, which is denoted as a capital N, right. In other words, SPT value, and it is equal to the number of blows required for 300 penetration beyond the sitting drive of 150 So if the number of blow for 150 penetration exceed 50, then it is taken as a refusal and the test is discontinued. Usually SPT is conducted at every 2 meter depth or at the change of the strata. So the for the SPT value, which is known as N value, is corrected for the two corrections, right. First is dilatancy collection. Here I can show that, yes. First is a dilatancy correction, and the second one is overburden pressure correction. So when this silty fine sands below the water table develops pore pressure, which is not easily dissipated. So the when the pore pressure increases, the resistance of the soil, and hence penetration number, capital N, which is denoted by capital N, is also increases, right. So as per Terzaghi and Peck in 1967 recommended that the following correction in the case of the silty fine sands when the observed value of capital N which exceed 15. So NC is equal to 15 plus 1 half in bracket NR minus 15. in which NC is equal to corrected standard penetration test value, and NR is equal is a recorded SPT value, right? If NR which is less than or equal to 15, or uh, NC is equal to NR. So our second one is overburden pressure correction, right? So in a granular soils, the overburden pressure affects the penetration resistance. So if the two soils having same relative density but the different confining pressure are tested, the one with the higher confining pressure gives the higher penetration number. As the confining pressure in the cohesion soils increases with the depth, penetration number for the soils at the shallow depth is underestimated, and the greater depth is overestimated. So, according to the Gibbs and Halls in 1957, recommended some equation, right? For the dry and moist clean sand, which is NC is equal to NR multiplied by 350 divided by sigma dash 0 plus 70, where the sigma dash 0 is equal to effective overburden pressure in the unit of kilonewton per meter square, which is not exceeding 280 kilonewton per meter square. So, as per IS code, the overburden pressure correction is given by uh, PEC, right? So its equation is Cn is equal to 0.77 log 2000 divided by P bar, where Cn is equal to correction factor, P bar is effective overburden pressure, which is in the unit of kilonewton per meter square, and P bar is equal to effective overburden pressure, right? So here equation NC is equal to Cn multiplied by NR. So there are correlation of N with the different engineering properties. So the value of the SPT, which mainly depends on the relative density of the cohesionless soil and the unconfined compressive strength of the cohesive soil. So if the soil is compact or stiff, the SPT value is high. So the angle of shearing resistance known as a phi of the cohesionless soil mainly depends on this SPT value, right? So the greater the n value, so the greater is the angle of shearing resistance, right? Here there is a table which describe the correlation between n dr and phi. So in different condition the value differs at differently, right? So the first condition, if the soil is very loose, so the value of n is between 0 to 4. The value of density, right, is between 0 to 50%, and phi is equal to less than 28%, 28 degree, right? So for different types of soil, like very loose soil, medium soil, dense soil, and very dense soil, the value differs, right? So the consistency and the confined compressive strength, which is denoted as a QU of the cohesion soil, can approximately determine from the SPT value N as per the below table, right? So the correlation for clays is rather unreliable, and hence when shear test is recommended for more reliable informations, right? So the correlation between N and Q, right? If the consistency of soil is very soft, then the value of N is between 0 to 2, and the value of Q is less than 25, right? So there are different types of soil and it has some different values, right? Depends on the consistency of the soil, right? Next is a static cone penetration test, which is known as SCPT, right? So basically it's also known as a Dutch cone test, has been standardized and given in IS code. The IS code name is method of subsurface sounding for soils, right? So the this SCPT test is the most reliable method for recording the variation, right? Variation in this in situ penetration resistance of the soil in case where in situ density is disturbed by boring operations, thus making the this standard penetration test unreliable, especially under water, right? So the result of the test are also useful in determining the bearing capacity of soil at the various depth below the ground surface, and also useful in determining skin friction values used for the determination of the required length of the pile in a given situations. So the static cone pressure, static cone penetration test is the most successful in a soft and loose soils like silty sands, loose sands, layers, deposits of sands, silts, and clays and clay soils. So the equipment used for the SAPT mainly consist of steel cone, right? Friction jacket, sounding rod, mantle tube, right? Driving mechanism and measuring equipment. So the Dutch cone has a angle of 60 degree and overall diameter of 35.6, right? As you can see, the overall diameter is 35.7 mm, right? The end area is 10 centimeter, 10 centimeters square, right? So the cone is made up of steel, right? With its tip hardened, and the friction jacket is made of high carbon steel, right? The sounding rod, let's see, okay. So this sounding rod, okay. So the sounding rod is made of 15 mm diameter, okay, and which can be extended with additional rods, each of 1 meter length, right? So there is one steel tube meant for guiding sounding rod which pass through it, right? Here the our rod is 15 mm diameter, right? So the procedure for determining the cone resistance and the frictional resistance mainly consist of first pushing the cone along through the soil strata at the rate of 10 mm per second and measuring the cone resistance, then pushing the friction jacket down up to the cone and pushing both the cone and the friction jacket together and measuring the combined cone and friction resistance, right? So this friction resistance is obtained by subtracting this cone resistance from the combined resistance, and the process is repeated as regular intervals, right? So the cone resistance QC is obtained as QC is equal to capital QC divided by AC, where small QC is cone resistance, capital QC is force required to push that cone, and AC is cross sectional area of cone, which is 10 centimeters square. So frictional resistance is given by Fc is equal to Qf divided by Af, where Fc is equal to frictional resistance of frictional jacket. Qf is equal to force required to push the friction jacket, which is also Q Qt minus Qc, where Qt is equal to total force required to push the cone and the friction jacket together. Ef is equal to surface area of the friction jacket. Okay, so the following are the relations hold approximately good between the points of resistance, right, of the cone, which is QC, and the SPT value N, right? First, for gravel, QC value is 800 to 1000 Newton. For sand, 500 Newton to 600 Newton. For silty sands, 300 Newton to 400 Newton. For silts and clay silts, 200 Newton, where QC is in kilonewton per meter square. So it is generally unsuitable for the gravelly soils and the for the soil where the SPT value N is greater than 50, right? This test is mostly suitable for cohesionless soils. Okay, so next is a dynamic cone penetrating test, which is known as DCPT, right? So this test has been standardized and given in IS code, which is known as a method of subsurface sounding of soils, part 1, right? So this dynamic method using 50 mm code without any slurry, as you can see that, right? So the equipment consists of cone, driving rods, driving head, hoisting equipment, and a hammer. So a cone without threads may be of a mild steel and which used a cone adapter, right? So the cone with the thread is made of steel with the tip hardened. Okay. So the driving rods are provided with the threads for joining this coupling at the end. The driving rods are made up at every 100 mm. The driving head is a mile or mile steel with threads at the either ends for a rod coupling. So it is the 100 mm in diameter and 100 to 150 mm length. A suitable hoisting equipment like a tripod may be used. A cone is then driven into the soil by allowing 65 kg hammer falling freely from 750 mm height. So number of blows for every 100 mm penetration of cone are recorded. Number of blows required for 300 mm of penetration is taken as a dynamic cone resistance known as NCBR. When the depth is more than 6 meter, bentonite clay slurry may be used to eliminate the friction on the driving rod. So cone used in that case is 62.5 mm size. The detail of the dynamic cone penetration test using bentonite clay slurry has been standardized and given in the IS code, right? So the dynamic cone resistance is correlated with the SPT number n, and there are some approximate relations used when the 50 mm diameter cone is used, right? So here's the value is, if the depth is up to 3 meter and CBI value is 1.5, right? So this is a typical setup for dynamic cone penetration test, right? Okay. So for depth up to 3 to 6 meter, NCBR is equal to 1.75 Newton. And for depth greater than 6 meter, NCR value is equal to 2 Newton. Right? So next is in situ vent shear test. So in situ vent shear test is conducted to determine the shear strength of a cohesive soil in its natural conditions. So the apparatus consists of four blades, which is 100 mm attached at right angles to the steel rod, right? And the height by diameter ratio of the apparatus is generally equal to 2. The rod has a torque measuring device at the top, right? So for conducting this test, strand weir is pushed into the ground at the bottom of the bore hole up to a depth of 4 times diameter of the bore hole or 50 centimeter, which is more below the bottom. So no torque should be applied during the thrust. After about 5 minutes, the gear handle is turned, right? As you can show in the figure, right? So that the vane is rotated at the rate of zero point 0.1 degree per second. So maximum torque reading is noted when the reading drops appreciably from the maximum, right? So for regular vane shear strength of the soil may be computed by the following relation, which is uh, torque is shear strength of soil tau is equal to T divided by pi d square in bracket h by 2 plus d by 6, where tau is equal to shear strength, T is equal to torque, h is equal to height of the vane, and d is equal to overall diameter of the vane in mm, right? So the vane shear test is extremely useful for determining in situ shear strength of very soft and sensitive clays, for which it is very difficult to obtain undisturbed soils. The test can also be used for steep Fisher's clay. However, this test cannot be used for sandy soils, right? So we can stop our lecture here. We will continue after this lecture, right?